This is a very pivotal place in Southern California. We're here on vacation, and I couldn't resist coming up to the Griffith Park Observatory. It was here 50 years ago when I was in a cult called the Unification Church, commonly then known as the Moonies, that I came up to evangelize for the Moonies here at the Griffith Park Observatory. I came up the stairs, and standing right here was a tall man about 6'2", and I began to share the supposed truth of the Unification Church. And as I was sharing with him, he was like spaced out. Now you got to remember, 50 years ago was at the height of the hippie movement, and there was drugs and spaced out people, and I figured I was talking to somebody spaced out because the entire time I was talking to him, he just kept staring out. He never once looked at me. He just kept staring out in towards the parking lot. And then all of a sudden, as I'm sharing with him, he slams this post like this, very loud. And he said, "This is not real." And I said, "What?" And he slams the concrete pillar holding the entire building, and he said, "This is not real." And I knew at that point that I had a fruitcake on my hand. I didn't know what to do. And so I said, "Well, what is real?" He said, "Nothing is real. Nothing is in existence. Everything we see around us is a fictitious of our imagination." It was some cult. It was the weirdest thing I've ever seen in my entire life. But I was so desperate being in the Moonies, I didn't want to be there. And I said, "Well, I don't want to be in the Moonies. If you have another truth that I don't have, I want to know that truth." And he said, "You're going to have to find that out for yourself. I can't tell you, but you're going to have to learn what the truth is and search it out. I know the truth. You need to know the truth." And I was sure about that. I was confident being in the Moonies that I was getting the truth, and I wanted to get back home to be with my mother. My dad had divorced, and to be back with my then girlfriend, now my wife Marilyn. I left them both to move into the Unification family, and so I was desperate. And so shortly thereafter, I went back down and told them what happened. And they said, "You see, you never go out and evangelize with another Unification member because they got to cover your back. It was just some flaky excuses. Don't leave us without permission." Well, I did leave. About a month or two later, I left the Unification Church and went back home. But I also remember one other event. I went to my Catholic priest, Father McCarthy, and I asked him to come out to the house where I was staying so he could convince them that somehow they weren't the truth. And he did come out. I was very thankful for that. But he said to me on the front sidewalk, he said, "You know, Richard, you're going to have to know the truth for yourself. If I went in there and tried to tell them they weren't the truth, it wouldn't get anywhere and it wouldn't help you. You're going to have to come to know Jesus on your own without the help of anybody else." And I didn't know that then, but I learned later what that meant. And I'll share that with you at another time. I'd like you to consider and ponder these words.